So the mistake which I've been making, which I realized I've been making just yesterday, was always looking ahead at how I could improve my communication skills further, but never really stopping to improve or to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Never really actually stopping and utilizing my current social skills to meet other people, to become more social, to, get connections. But I always just looked ahead. How can I improve more? How can I improve more? To the point where I kind of forgot to use the skills which I've built up to this point. For the past 3.5 years, I've been spending almost every single day of my life improving my communication skills through reading dozens of books, speaking to hundreds of people, watching YouTube videos, getting coaching, everything. And all the information that I've learned, I have neatly packaged inside of a course which you can find by clicking on the first link in the description. That is by far your fastest, easiest, and simplest way to completely improve your communication skills as quickly as possible. Now, the way that I realized that I was making this mistake was I was at work yesterday, which, if you don't know, I've been working this construction job for a few months now. And one thing that kind of struck me was that in this job, you meet a ton of people, right? You travel a decent amount and you meet tons of different people. And during the last few months, the process of meeting all of these people was never stressful for me. I never had anxiety. There was never awkward silence or anything like that, or any of these problems which I always used to have before. Now meeting people was super easy. Walk up to them, shake their hand, whatever, have a bit of a conversation. And it got to the point where it was automatic now. I didn't have to, you know, walk up to the person, like mentally be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say, this is how I'm gonna do it. Meeting people was super natural. And I got to this point where I realized that even if you don't end up really saying anything, even if you don't end up really talking to them that much, it's not really awkward, right? You met them, okay, you know who they are, where they're from, whatever. But taking the conversation further isn't something that you really have to do in order to not have any awkward silence or not have it be awkward. And once I realized that, what I ended up doing was I ended up never really going out and again enjoying the fruits of my labor. I never actually ended up going and speaking and meeting further any of these people. I would just kind of meet them, and that would be the end of our interactions. And what I just realized just yesterday was how I had forgotten just how amazing it was speaking to people, meeting different people, hearing stories. Like hearing when you sit down with someone who you don't know and they tell you like a crazy story. That's like the most enjoyable experience ever when you can sit down with like a stranger or someone who you kind of know and they just up and tell you like the craziest most like canon story of their life, like the craziest shit that they've done, the craziest night of their lives. Because I've just had that a few days ago where I've spoken to this person and just told me the craziest fucking thing that they've done in their life, like the craziest night of their lives, and I'm just sitting there looking at them like this because it's completely different when you speak to a person in person and when you watch like a YouTube video of someone saying, "Oh yeah, I did this, I did that." When you actually sit down with a different person who you kind of know, who you've met, and you get into a really deep conversation with them, you can learn a ton of things, which is really great. You become more knowledgeable about different topics. But sometimes when they just tell you the craziest story, especially older people like 40, 50, 60 years old, like they've been through a lot. When they tell you a crazy story, that's like, oh my god, that's like the craziest, the most enjoyable thing ever. And I completely forgotten that. And instead of actually going and trying to meet people, I've just done the more comfortable option. I've just been going with the more comfortable option of just meet them, okay, do the basic thing, and then just kind of be quiet because I don't really care and I realize that it's not really awkward anymore. But I think a really important thing to do in that if you're facing the same problem is to just remember how you started. Remember where you started. Remember how back in the day you would have probably, or at least I'm looking at myself, back in the day how much I would have loved. Like I would have paid my last dollar just to be able to walk up to a person, shake their hand, meet them, introduce myself, have a nice little chat without any negative thoughts, without any anxiety, without any like actual effort. Like, okay, how do I do this? What do I do? Blah 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 blah. Like just be able to flow through these interactions and through meeting so many people so naturally that it's literally just a habit. I don't even have to think about it anymore. Like when I paid my last dollar to achieve that, and I'm just doing it without even thinking. I'm just doing it comfortably. And I realized just how much my past self would hate me for having all these skills that I've built up, that he's been building up for the past years, to just have me meet a person and just like ignore them, just like look at my phone or whatever. And I think the biggest reason that I might be like this and that I might be a kind of avoiding talking to people that much, it has to do with self-image. My last few videos were about self-image, so you can check that out if you want to learn more about it. But basically, it's the way that we see ourselves. And it's the kind of picture of ourselves that we have in our mind. And everything in our lives, from our actions to our environment, everything changes according to the way that we see ourselves. If we see ourselves as a failure, you're gonna fail constantly. If you see yourself as a guy who's super social, you're just naturally gonna be more social. And I think that my self image, even though I'm improving communication skills, my self image is still of that old guy, of that, that younger me who had anxiety when it comes to speaking to people, who would always kind of just start looking at his phone and kind of disconnect from the social situation as like a coping mechanism. Even though I've got the skills where I don't need to do that anymore, that's still the way that I see myself. And that might be the reason that I don't really speak to that many people now. Even though I can easily speak to them and meet tons of people and everything, I kind of just avoid it and ignore them, even though I absolutely have the necessary skills and confidence and everything to just go and have great conversations with tons of strangers. So I think that the solution to this will be just leveling up my self image. And to give you an action step for this video, to not just, you know, to have it be a bit more practical, is for 5 minutes a day, every single day, just start imagining yourself as the person you'd like to be. Truly visualize yourself deeply going through a party, for example, and you're the heart of the party and you're super social and everyone knows you and everyone likes you and you get all the girls and whatever you might want to achieve when it comes to social skills or anything else, really. Imagine yourself as that person in as much detail as possible. And after a while, maybe a few weeks, you will start to act like that naturally, instinctively, without even thinking. If you found this video helpful, I think you'll find a lot of value in this video right here. Click on the subscribe button, go check out my course, link in the description, and do the work.